Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catalog and Cocktails, coming to you live from Gartner Data Analytics Conference in Orlando.
Well, the honest OPS is that this is not live. It is pre-recorded. We're all stuck in the corner.
This recording is coming to you originally live.
And here we are. And how are you both doing?
Great. Now I've got my smoked old fashioned.
Well, quick introductions here. So we're with Krystin and with Mary Lou. But Mary Lou, introduce yourself.
I'm Mary Lou Pirrera. I'm with the Campbell company. I'm part of the data governance and data management team. And I was happy to join you guys today during the panel here at Gartner.
Glad to have you.
And
I'm Krystin Kim. I'm VP of Decision Science Data Analytics for Post Holdings. Think Rudy Pebbles.
And then, Krystin, welcome to the club of at least two-time podcast guests. So
VIP.
welcome to that.
I know. I'm honored.
All right. Well, what are we drinking and what are we toasting for today?
Oh, sorry. I buried the lead.
Oh,
Smoked
okay.
old fashions.
Yeah. So, Tim, Krystin, and myself are drinking smoked old fashions.
Cheers.
And Mary
What do
Lou,
you
what are
have?
you
I went
drinking?
with a Moscato. I went
Moscato.
on the lighter
Moscato,
side.
Oh, nice.
Cheers for data and for Gartner to bring us here together. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's kick it off. What have you both been learning, observing today up to now?
I've been approached several times around data governance and the process. Right after the panel, there were several attendees that were really interested in that topic, and really wanted to connect afterwards just to do a little bit of a deep dive and have some more questions.
You were also mentioning that there's when you're talking to people, like, oh, their struggles, they're not foreign.
Yes, they're not foreign. It's something that we all live through, especially after standing up a governance program. So the common themes are there, the struggles are the same, and it's just like this curiosity and understanding how to overcome them.
I think for a lot of people, it's a bit of a black box in terms of like how does governance get done? Like, what does the process look like around that? And so when they hear people are implementing it and it's going well, they're like, well, what are you doing? What's the magic, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Krystin, how are you?
I'm just surprised and amazed, actually, how big the conversation is around governance. Not just data governance, but AI governance, but just really the two in combination is compared to like past years, even with data governance. It's always been there for years, but this year it is front and center stage. It's finally, probably gotten all the street cred that it really deserves.
Yeah.
I think last week I was in New York and I was went to one of the low-key data happy hours, and I was surprised to meet people who I've met before and had conversations, especially at these data tech happy hours where it's usually very technical data engineering type of conversations, and we're talking about, I didn't bring it up, they brought it up, folks, semantics, metadata, governance, and I'm like, and I'm biased towards this, but I do predict that there kind of seems to be signal right now saying, hey, governance, if we treat governance as like an enabler, that's actually the cool, sexy thing I want to work on, because you want to be the enabler of all that amazing thing that's happening with AI and stuff, right? Instead of being the compliance naysayers and stuff. But, well, with that, today we hosted a conversation on data governance from basics to breakthroughs. And I have to say, it was a phenomenal conversation because we actually caused almost a fire hazard. There were over 400 people in the room. I think they can only allow like 300. And people were lined up to talk to you all. So I would love for both of you kind of summarize the discussions that we had. That we were asking questions, you were doing all the talking, so you share with us.
Yeah, I think we, if I remember correctly, we started off with what were the fundamental shifts that we're seeing.
Yeah, the shifts we're seeing.
And one of the things that I see is it's actually echoed in that sentiment of having such a big stage, and it's gone from data governance being somebody else's problem and in the back office to now it's everyone's opportunity, and it's an opportunity to engage in the data, to get access to it. And so with the responsibility of you have the responsibility of acceptable use and good prolific use of the data as well. So that big shift from back office to to center stage, you see it at home and you see it at Gartner.
And how it resonates deeper within the organization. I was able to share a couple of examples how it's no longer just our leaders who are looking for clean, trusted, reusable data that has specific quality standards. It's the broader organization now because of the need of self-service. It needs to be faster, better. The inputs to predictive models, they need to be clean, accurate inputs. So the turnaround time is faster for those insights and really that bottom line where they can really move the needle. So that's really significant.
And absolutely, with the rise of data sharing and purchase data, we buy data from our retailers, which are our customers. When you are in those relationships, now you have a contractual obligation to use the data in a certain way. And you also have so many more people wanting to get that access, so it becomes so much more important. You don't want to disrupt your revenue base, right, with poor quality governance, right? You can really, hurt relationships or damage credibility. So, governance is just absolutely pivotal now, more critical than ever.
Yeah. And we were also talking about the user centricity, right? Thinking about the platform for the users and meeting users where they are. What were the things that you both were sharing around that?
When we implemented the catalog, the data catalog, it was really taking that user-centric approach, so that we made, and through that approach, we made the data catalog a business tool that everybody wants to embrace and use, versus an IT tool that is almost perceived as forced on them, one more thing to do, manage, along with data governance, like the elephant in the room. It's intense activity that needs to happen. We were able to really change the narrative there and create a lot of excitement.
Yeah, and she brings up a good point because, when she's talking about meeting them where they are, when you think about data governance, it traditionally has been a little bit of a burden. It's hard to do, it's on top of, right?
Their day jobs.
Right, but really the secret sauce is sprinkling a little bit into the regular workflow, making it part of their day, so it's something that they're also going to get value out of, because at the end result, whatever they're working on is going to have a little bit of that governance. And so really, making it part of their overall day, doing a little bit here in their normal workflow is kind of the secret sauce to keeping it going.
Yeah, I feel like culture and sort of getting people to build it into their workflows were some pretty big themes today. How do you in general avoid governance staying very defensive and actually get people to think about the value it's providing, the innovation that it ties to?
I've seen the best benefit in really showing our users their benefit realization. The answer to the classic question, what's in it for me? They can now access the information a lot faster. With a couple of clicks, they get to the information right away. And what was a daunting task now has become something that is light touch from a retrieval. So then they have the information readily available to then partner, collaborate, and make the key decisions for governance. So that was a big change.
That's so spot on, Mary Lou. The user-centric approach for this, and then what's in it for me. And I think, like, the be honest, no BS is whenever you're setting up this data governance platform and a project is, you want to be able to answer that question. What's in it for me? You're talking to somebody saying, hey, invest in this because this is what's in it for you. So that's what I think is like. I think that's a key part right there that we should be focusing more. I love that. Ask yourself that question. And be able to have the answer.
And really, we have the need, both because of resource constraints. We need to make governance as light touch as possible. Doesn't mean skipping on the core principles and what we need to implement for the credibility and that even the risk of losing, a revenue stream, of course. Where it needs to be disciplined and in place, yes, by all means. But wherever we can help, that's where we need to help and make it really intuitive and easy to navigate. We design these user journeys and easy navigation where they can really run across or drill deep depending on what a user's looking for.
I want to correct. I said governance project, but it's not a project. It's always a program. Sorry.
It's not one and done.
No, it's not one and done. I just want to correct. Okay.
And at the end of the day, as much as all us data geeks love metadata, semantic layers, lineage, and all of that, nobody else cares, right? And so, but really, what is in it for me is that will this solve my problems? And so, one of the things that a good governance program, as well as a great catalog, gives you is the ability to find something that's going to solve their problem. And so, one thing that I really push quite a bit is really how it enables the collaboration, right? So being able to have a problem and say, I wanted to find something around reducing waste, right? And being able to see an execution that someone else did that had a common problem, and it gives me inspiration. It actually gives me code I can steal, right? And start from a much higher ground and really get to my time to insight so much more quicker, right? We actually had an incident where, unfortunately for them, they didn't check the catalog, and so they found out when they wanted to go promote it that a report exactly like that already existed after spending like 2 months with data integration and data, report development to find something that there was something already there.
Hopefully that's a burn, but then they've learned their lesson.
I like this catalog thing.
Yeah. Save me 2 months
save
of
me
work.
some time, yeah.
And it's not like, just save me a little bit. Save me 2 months of work.
Of multiple developers.
Yeah.
Multiple developers. That's a lot of
And,
resourcing.
and Mary Lou, you talked about data literacy also in terms of the impact there.
So one key eye-opener was really the ability for the teams to look at documented definitions. We're talking about big enterprise KPIs that really move the needle, like Krystin said earlier today. It's millions of dollars. Even if you improve by 1%, it adds a lot to top and bottom line. So we had an instance where there were some escalations because, again, that data literacy was not there. They were utilizing a report and they were looking at a key metric with the lens of the published definition, not understanding that it did not fit the use that they were looking for, it did not fit their division, their distribution model. So with that incident, it really empowered the data owner, who is at a senior level within our organization, to say, we need another KPI in order to help the business monitor the right way the service level and therefore improve. So it really moves the needle a lot, and these instances happen. It's not a one and done. When we talk about governance process, today that might be the definition. There might be a change in the network that warrants something different. There might be a change within the landscape in the marketplace that may drive the business to measure something slightly different. But having that documented there, ready at fingertips, it really changes. It's a game changer.
What I really love about what you're saying here is that it's really taking call it the basic concept of like business glossaries, but to the next level, where you're actually thinking about this. It's not just this term and what we just need to have an agreement, like having a dictionary. Like, no, we're tying it to like the business KPIs, and like we want alignment. This is the people process around this, right? Let's make sure aligned, because we're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and if we're not aligned on this stuff, like that we could be losing money over here at a large scale.
Beyond that fancy, nice, suitable way how to house something. It's something that's always living in our data, in our execution.
So Krystin, there's two things that you said that I really like. One, Robin Hood. Second, anthropology.
Okay, so Robin Hood and anthropology, what do they have to do with data governance, right?
Ooh, that's a good.
What random things were Chris is spouting out? So the Robin Hood effect is the idea of robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. And what happens in everywhere is that everyone's journey, no matter what department you're in, there are some people that are analytically more mature and advanced, and there's some people that really are just starting out. So being able to really democratize or share assets and ideas and let them all start out from a better place at scale, it just, I say the rising tides raises all boats, right? So that's how you do this at scale. Not one at a time, but at scale. So that's the Robin Hood effect. The other thing is about, and this, not to glaze on a no bullshit kind of thing, but it's around the strategy around hacking your metadata, basically, right? Really understanding your metadata. And again, nobody cares about the word metadata, but it's really that every behavior, we do, we're geeks.
We do.
But it's really the behavior of your users and what they're doing and what they're doing that you didn't realize, right? being able to capture that in the metadata itself and understand what they're doing so that you can drive the behavior to what you want them to be doing even better, right? And so at the end of the day, that's what matters, because the other takeaway that I've gotten from Gartner today is what an emphasis change management is, because everyone really knows that none of this is possible, and what we're doing with autonomous decisions are changing behavior, and you can't do that without understanding at a deep empirical level what they're doing, and that is data anthropology.
Oh my! You know what? It's I've said this a couple of times in the podcast before, but my wife's a behavior analyst. She's a behavioral scientist. And some things I've learned in the last years, and I hear this, is like there's a lot. It's all about change. You want to be. There's behaviors that we want to be able to go change, basically, and this is all connected, right? And at the end of the day, it's like we want everybody to accomplish this particular goal in our organization. What are the things we need to go do? And at the end, like, there's some behaviors that we need to go change. And yeah, metadata is not the sexiest word, but there are things that we're enabling. So how do we get people to start doing this? And we really need to start thinking out of the box around this stuff. So.
But you really have to decompose how the decisions are made, and at what range do you make this decision versus that decision, right? And it's important also for retaining the experience in your workforce, right? You know, we've got boomers are aging out, right? So being able to make those right, they just knew, right? They're just gut. But being able to decompose them, put them in your tools, in your catalog, but also understanding what they did that they didn't explain, that's gold.
Take that knowledge and that context and make it something that's reusable, that lasts.
Exactly.
That's what I'm excited about. Something we're doing in our lab is how do we extract knowledge from people's heads?
What we call institutional tribal
exactly.
knowledge, right?
Institutional, organizational, tribal knowledge of that stuff. Especially now that we're talking about like people are retiring, right? And then what is the cost of onboarding people, right? And people come and go. They're hopping jobs and stuff. And like
a lot of companies lost a lot of that through COVID. For one reason or another, turnover, people retire, just choosing to retire early within the industry. A lot has happened, and we'll see more as that generation is coming up.
And one other thing that's very hungry for that context, we didn't talk about it too much, and that's a good thing, is AI. Right? It wants that context. But it's not just about AI. It's about a lot of other stuff.
So to wrap up, any final comments, thoughts about AI? We have to touch AI, right?
Any last thoughts there?
As I said during the panel, I am selfish, and I want AI to help with really workflows, streamline them, automate them, serve up to us the exception basis that we should be focusing on so that we can review. The best practice is always to have a human review the results, accept or reject, move on, make it a lot more efficient.
AI to help you do more, better governance, better knowledge management. Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's going to accelerate adoption. Exactly how? It's making the hard things easy. So being a data steward in the past was kind of crappy, right? You had to catalog a bunch of stuff. You had to create a bunch of content creation, descriptions, time-consuming, laborious. With AI, it's much easier. Coupled with, if you're tying your governance with innovation or governance with access to data that you didn't have before, making the stuff that they're going to have to commit to now super easy, then it's an easy yes. It's a win-win, right? You know, so that is the fuel for more adoption and consequently value.
Yep.
So Tim,
final takeaways?
We have our takeaways that we took while we were on the panel.
Yeah, the takeaways from when we were on the panel.
So take us away.
So key takeaways, first of all, governance started with more of the compliance and defensive side, but I think a big theme of what we talked about today was around the collaboration, the data literacy, the offensive use cases, the innovation around data as well. Leaders are asking for trusted data. Governance needs to be centered around the users and the personas. I think that was really key. And we talked about meeting people where they are, right? Being able to tie it into things like their CI/CD pipelines, sprinkle it into the workflow, right? Sprinkle it in. What about you, Juan? What were your big takeaways?
All right, so I have here, governance comes to life when it's tied to a big transformation project. So this was something I really appreciated that you brought up, Mary Lou, because it's like those projects are already doing cross-functional stuff. Governance is success by doing cross-functional, so tie it to existing transformational projects, right? That's how you also find your change agents. Have a clear focus on what you're trying to drive, and that's going to drive collaboration. For example, you shorten developer cycles or stuff. Because if you're going to think about just having one use case at a time that's going to cover so many different other places, like that's finding a needle in the haystack. That's not going to happen. And I love, like, when we talk about your breakthroughs, it's like collaboration, finding those problems that other people are having too. We're going to be able to collaborate and stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, that is an ultimate breakthrough. 1 + 1 is going to be greater than 2. And then the Robin Hood effect, I really love this about, hey, let's take from the folks who are very rich and mature, and let's go help other folks who aren't. I think that's how we're going to go work on things together. And then at the end of the day, AI is to unlock the governance process, which has been very tedious, right? Doing classification, doing explanations, like that is how we're going to be able to unlock things with AI. And at the end of the day, good metadata doesn't happen by chance. I mean, we have to go do some investment, but we're doing this because we have a great drivers of what we want to drive for success.
Well said on that point, Mary Lou.
With that, let's close out. Final advice.
Final advice?
About data, about life, whatever you want.
Mary Lou.
The governance does not have to be a daunting, scary task, and we need to be committed to make it easier. Again, with the right guardrails in place, but we need the tools really to enable them.
Yeah, I guess one closing thought is I forgot to mention, these are all my own thoughts, not Representative
Yes,
Holt
mine
Holdings.
as well,
Yeah.
so thank you for the reminder, Krystin.
They're all mine, yeah. But the takeaway I would say would be, fail fast, fail strategically, right, where you can fail, and don't be afraid, right? One of the things with a governance program is that, contrary to popular belief, one use case at a time, you get a full understanding, but you won't get the scale. So being able to do, something not perfect, right, but in scale actually can show the value. And so you might have little, it's not perfect, it's not as perfect, but it's okay. When you're showing the value right away, that you're able to build on it incrementally. So don't be afraid to take a big bite.
I think that's really important. I think sometimes people think that governance is like, I only got one shot, right? And of course you don't want to completely royally screw up, right? That's not the goal.
No.
But you can break it down into smaller increments, and you can be iterative, right? And if you take a misstep, you start out by rolling out a stewardship program, people weren't ready, you can backtrack it a little bit, right?
And I would argue the worst thing would be to wait till everything's perfect before you do it, because that's never going to happen.
Right. Perfection is a great way to do nothing.
Fail strategically. That is so spot on.
Yeah.
Somebody should write a book with that title.
Fail strategically. I like it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you
Thanks
so much,
so much.
you guys.
Yeah.
This was so much fun.